Okay, well, it's been a couple of weeks since I put a video up, and I thought I better at least show my face. Um, and we've got, I realized fairly quickly as I was putting scales on that at some point or another I'm going to have to do some kind of support structure for the wings. And so that's kind of what I'm working on right now. I'm coming in with a 1x1 piece of steel and threading it and drilling 3 holes and getting it kind of set up to weld it to the inside of the dragon, and then also a corresponding piece, as you will see in a few minutes, that will go on the outside, and that those two are going to bolt together. And then I'm going to do some kind of welding on the inside to strengthen that up, just so it isn't sitting there just kind of hanging on to scales. And then I'll be able to later on, once I get all the scales on and everything kind of set, I'll come in and put some pretty outrageous wings on this thing. Okay, drill it oversize and then put the tap in and run the tap in. Of course, this is all speeded up. This whole process probably took me one whole morning. But, I was having fun, so who cares, right? So my neighbor came up to me the other day. I was in town and I happened to run across him and his wife, and he watches this, and he asked me, "What am I going to do with it?" And I, of course, said I'm putting it out at the head of the road, and he lit up and went, "Ah, cool!" And so he asked me. We were talking a little bit, and he said, "Oh, there's got to be some really boring parts." And I said to him, I said, "No, it's all pretty cool. I'm having a great time doing it." And if you look at this, and if it was a job and I was making money, yeah, it would be boring as hell. But I'm not, and that's the cool part about being creative. Just for the fun of it is, if you don't like what you're doing, well, you just go do something else. And this piece here, even though it's been going on 6 months now, I can't think of a part that I didn't like. Notice I'm running 2 taps in there, mostly because I didn't want to go all the way through the 1 inch. It was, not worth doing it. But I didn't also, uh, wanted to have enough thread. So I ran a standard tap in and then came back with a bottoming tap and ran it down to the depth that the bolts are, and that's far enough. So this is the other side of the wing, the other wing, and I have no idea what I'm going to do with that yet. I just know that I need this foundation, and I need it to be pretty strong in order to carry that weight, because part of that wing is going to be a 1 inch bar, round stock, tapered, so that it kind of has a more wing look to it. But just I love having steel lay around. This thing was an old axle for a truck at one point, and I kind of dug around, and you can see it's all rusty and everything. And I kind of dug around in the back 40 there, and came up with this axle. And I just love using old metal, especially if it's really rusty. And you can see that this tap is not going in that easily. So this is the bigger hole, and it's probably 7/8, whereas the others were more like 5/8. So I'm using the honkin' tapping. What is it? Tool? No, not tool. Handle. Okay, I had to go into my bolt box and find a bolt that was going to fit that, and it turns out I found one. And so now let's move over to the outside edge of this little support bar and put those two 5/8 in. Let's start with a 1/4 inch or something in there, and drill through, and then come back with the tap size drill, and then tap it. Seems pretty straightforward, especially at 10 times the speed. Okay, one last drill and tap, and I think we'll be set here. Oh, well, no, because I've got to do the corresponding bar, but that one doesn't need to be tapped, just drilled. And it looks like I'm just randomly putting some holes in there, but I've got my digital readout, and I can't remember how many inches it was, but I marked down the inches so that when I come back in with the corresponding bar, that I'll just go right to those positions. So all I could find in my scrap bin was a piece of 3/4 by, what does that look like, 4 inch or something like that. So hey, let's just put it in lengthways, right? And you think, well, how are you going to hold that, Nick? But if there's a will, there's always a way. Just give me a minute to think about it. Okay, so we're going to mark our cut and then set this thing up and come in, if you can see what I'm doing. And I'm just taking apart all the components, and we're just going to clamp the hell out of it. And it should be fine. Look at that. Just like butter. It's just cutting right into it. All right, well, lots of sharp edges, so let's trim those edges down so I don't cut myself. And also at the same time, we'll get some bare metal so that whatever we weld to here is going to take the weld. And this piece of steel I've probably had for, I don't know, 20, 25 years. I got it off of an old D8 cat, I believe. A guy wanted me to fix a part that had gotten bent, and you can see the yellow from the paint on the cat. And this was some kind of arm that I had to replace, and it had one little bend in it, and I swear I've been chopping this thing up for 25 years. I think this is the last of it right here, but who knows? Yeah, a little more grinding. We've got to weld some support pieces on these threaded parts that go behind the sculpture itself, or inside of the sculpture. Okay, now it's time to drill the holes so the bolts can slide through this part and clamp it to the inside pieces. So I just set up, a general center line, and then take the digital out to the far extremes of the other two bolt holes. And it's, again, starting with a 1/4 inch, 3/8 something, and working my way up to the 7/8 that I think I used in that center hole, and then 5/8 on the outside holes. These Chinese bits, they're really great. I mean, I bought a whole set for like $250 from 1/2 inch to 1 inch in 64th increments. So they're really great. But if you just burn one corner, you're done. There's no fixing it. It's like the tip is hard, but everything else doesn't even come close. So, what we do is we drill, make sure that for one we're drilling mild steel, and then we drill, oftentimes step it up. And you can see, oh, here we're at the 5/8, and a lot of oil and some kind of lubricant, and it goes okay as long as it doesn't get hot. As soon as it gets hot, that bit is trash. Okay, here we are. We've drilled the 3 holes. We're gonna see how things are gonna match up. And which way? Good question. Oh, probably I've got to deburr it. All right, we're back outside. I guess the camera turned itself off or something like that. But now we know where we're going to put the holes in the scales, and then bring the piece behind it and the piece outside of the scales, and bolt those together. And I realized I had to do that now because if I take those scales down any further, I'm not going to be able to, you can see I'm just barely able to reach up with the scales in the position they're in. Okay, a little bit more. Yeah, we're there. I believe there was a piece of that 1/4 inch, support, or oh no, it was a piece of support material like 1x2 or something like that, that was in the way of the bolt. So I had to go back in and cut all of that out, and then revamp it and somehow and make it strong again. But that comes later. So okay, so let's see if we can get our bolt back in there. Okay, well, I've got a kind of a long ass bolt there, but hey, doesn't really matter. I just brought the bolt down and tightened the nut, and we're going to tighten that whole thing up, and it's going to sit there for probably, who knows, another couple of months at least, until we're ready to weld to that. I don't know what I'm going to do with that little dinky ass crescent wrench, but at this point, I guess I'm tightening it up. Now we go get the real tool. And again, a long bolt for the other side. hole didn't quite fit, so just have to cut it out with the torch a little bit more. Now let's see if we can get that in there. I guess not. Oh, I see. I remember now. It was there was another piece of steel in the way, so I had to cut that out in order to be able to get the bar in there. There's my wife, my biggest fan, helping me out there. The garden is right across from where I'm working, so I can call on her at any point. Whether she comes or not is a whole nother ball game, but okay, we got a real wrench on that now, and we're really snugging that baby down. Super tight. So it's like crushing those scales between the two pieces. And here's the inside view. You can kind of see I'm coming in with a divider and just getting that. And literally, I can only get one hand in there. And the divider, I have to kind of set the divider up and then adjust it, just barely adjust it so that it fits. You can see it's a bit of a struggle. All of this superstructure is in the way, and I literally got my cheek up against the round tubage. You can kind of see one there, and I'm reaching way in there with my hand and trying to get this. There's like a 1-inch view of that point, and you are looking at it. I mean, literally, I can barely see this. But I think we've got it. And we're going to go back into the shop and cut some cross pieces. And before we do that, once the cross piece is cut, I'm going to want to bring it in and set it on something. So I got a couple of C-clamps in there just so the cross piece will rest on something. But again, I'm reaching way out to the extent of my arm. And you can see I'm struggling. We'll get it though. I'm determined. Okay, I went and cut another piece, and it's looks like what, 1 inch by maybe 5/8, 3/4, something like that. So, yeah, and I'm gonna. You saw me put it in there. I'm gonna take it and slide it in down to the C clamps, and then weld it in there. There we go. Almost. Just a little bit shorter. I just turned around beside me and got my torch and just lopped off about 1/4 inch of it, and hopefully that's going to be enough. Let's just have a look and see. There we go. Again, snaking my way in there. There we go. Looks good. So that's going to be the brace that goes across and creates a solid base for the wings. Now, at some point or another, I'm going to come in and weld all of that to the superstructure. But for the moment, we're just going to tack it, and move on. All right, well, we got it tacked in there good and solid, and not going to fully weld it. I'm going to want to come in and preheat that, and I'm hoping to get a arc welder in there and really weld the shit out of it. But who knows if I can get one in there. There's not much room. But now it's time at this point to take the C-clamp out, and I realize that clamp is not going to come out. It's not going to unscrew because it hits the support bar. So we're going to have to wrestle with that a bit. How to wrestle with it, I'm not sure yet. Oh, there's a pair of pliers. Let's see if we can just yank it out. Looks like we're coming to the end of the video here. We got, as you can see, we've got a lot more to do, and I'm having a great time doing it. And hey, sometime in the next week or so, I'll put up another vid, and we'll continue this process. For the moment, this is Nick Collier checking out.